Welcome to The Explainer. You know, I'm absolutely thrilled we're digging into this today, because we're tackling something that literally affects every single one of us. We've all been there, right? Staring at a blank screen on a Zoom call, or just sitting in a silent conference room while the clock painfully ticks past the hour. It's universally annoying. But what if I told you that being late isn't actually about the clock at all? Today, we're going to use this everyday workplace frustration as a gateway into a surprisingly profound philosophical discussion. We're talking human connection, responsibility, and the very fabric of trust itself.
A couple of years back, a headline went totally viral and sparked these massive, fiery debates across the internet. It read, "Gen Z workers think showing up 10 minutes late to work is as good as being on time." And man, did people have opinions about this. It clearly touched a nerve. The whole thing triggered this huge ongoing conversation about modern work culture, generational values, and how we actually view our obligations to one another.
Okay, let's dive into this. When people argue about chronic tardiness, the surface level takes are, well, pretty predictable. You've got folks saying that demanding strict adherence to a schedule is basically just a mechanism of corporate control. Then you have others who fiercely insist that being late is fundamentally disrespectful because it wastes the one resource literally nobody can buy back: time. Then there are folks who feel that in a world where workers feel increasingly powerless, withholding your time is one of the few ways to reclaim agency. And finally, some people just view it as a sign of growing irresponsibility. But all of these points, while completely valid in their own right, are really just scratching the surface.
Section 1. Peeling the first layer. Time in the modern world.
To really wrap our heads around this, we actually need to look at how time itself has completely shifted. Think about it. We've moved from a largely analog understanding of time into a completely digital one. We now live in digital time. It's an always-on culture defined by immediacy, speed, and fragmentation. It's asynchronous, you send a message and someone replies whenever. It prioritizes the immediate present. But here's the catch. Humans are actually built for social time. We don't exist as isolated little individuals just bouncing between calendar alerts. We exist within these deep webs of rhythmic coordination, connection, and shared participation. Digital time has practically disconnected us from this relational, social reality.
Just let this quote sink in for a second. Time is social before it is mechanical or digital. It's so true, isn't it? Beneath the ticking mechanics of the clock on your wall or the calendar app on your phone, timeliness is actually the invisible framework of our relational lives. It dictates how we interact, how we rely on each other, and how we build our communities.
Section 2. The 3 forms of lateness.
So, to really understand human behavior, both in ourselves and in our coworkers, we have to break lateness down into 3 very distinct types. First up is situational lateness. Look, life happens. Traffic jams, sudden emergencies, or that one rogue alarm clock that just decided to take the morning off. We've all been victim to it. A person can absolutely be late and still have perfect integrity. People with a strong sense of responsibility handle this by simply communicating quickly. They let you know immediately, and by doing so, they maintain their relational coordination with you. They don't pretend the delay isn't happening, they manage it.
Second, we've got structural lateness. This is the person who is literally always 5 minutes late no matter what. We all have that one structurally late friend, right? But here's the kicker. This isn't necessarily indifference or malice. Mostly, it's a lack of awareness and discipline. It usually means they have insufficient systems to support reliable planning. They might desperately need better boundaries, better calendar buffers, or they just need to be a lot more realistic when scoping out their commitments. They care, they just completely lack the structure to execute.
Now, what's really interesting here is this third, deepest layer, ontological lateness. This happens when time is dismissed as totally insignificant. Why? Because the person unconsciously experiences their own participation as optional or just inconsequential. At this level, repeated indifference shows a deeply diminished relationship to a shared reality. It's a fundamental failure to recognize that other people actually rely on them and that their absence actively alters the coordination of the whole group.
The philosopher Martin Heidegger actually hit the nail on the head with this. He pointed out that humans don't just passively float in time like a leaf drifting down a river. We exist through time. We are constantly navigating the tension between the past and the future by generating commitments. A business, a team, a project. These all exist purely because people make promises regarding future actions.
Section 3. The philosophy of punctuality.
To truly grasp this, let's look at the actual roots of the words we use every single day to see how punctuality is basically the invisible social glue holding us all together. Let's start with punctual. It comes from the Latin punctum,
meaning a precise mark or point. So originally, punctuality had absolutely zero to do with clocks. It meant fidelity to a shared point in relational space and time. Arriving punctually isn't about blind obedience to a corporate schedule. It's about honoring a point of coordination where humans have literally agreed to converge their attention and their energy.
Then there's agreement. This comes from old French roots, and it implies a harmony of will, a coming into alignment together. Just contrast that beautiful, deep attunement with how we use the word today. Today, we've basically reduced agreements to dry transactional compliance or strict contractual obligations. But at its core, an agreement is fundamentally an act of coordinated meaning between people. And then, of course, we have promise, from the Latin promittere, meaning to send forth. When you make a promise, even something as mundane as, hey, I'll have that report to you by Tuesday, you are extending yourself, your intention, and your responsibility straight into the future. This binds our present being to a future action. It establishes reliability, and it brings real coherence to a totally uncertain world.
So the crucial point is this. Beyond all the modern buzzwords about mere productivity, timeliness is really just about trust. It is entirely about whether other people can reliably organize their actions around what you say. In any organization, trust depends far, far less on sheer talent than it does on basic reliability. Competence alone is never going to sustain a healthy culture if people literally can't rely on your word.
Section 4. The weight of our words. When that reliability starts to fade, man, the consequences are severe. It builds into a very dangerous domino effect. When words lose their weight, step 1. Commitments are casually made and just as casually broken. Deadlines totally lose their credibility. Step 2. Trust starts to decay beneath the surface. Step 3. Organizations begin to fragment into disconnected individuals instead of functioning as a coordinated network. And finally, step 4, you get this drift towards soft nihilism. It's a quiet, subtle detachment from meaning, responsibility, and shared participation.
You know, a lot of companies try to slap a Band-Aid on this fragmenting culture with software. They add more tracking, more metrics, more oversight. But systems alone absolutely cannot compensate for weakened integrity. Adding a shiny new task management app is not going to fix a culture that lacks a shared core belief that words and participation actually matter. Accountability isn't a spreadsheet. It is the relational structure that protects trust. So, bringing this whole thing together, here's why being on time truly deeply matters. It reflects our internal perception of our own promises. It honors the shared agreements we've made with our peers. It is living, visible proof that we take our own words seriously. And ultimately, it builds futures. Showing up on time is a profound acknowledgement that our word is the absolute foundation upon which shared realities are constructed. I want to leave you with this final, really provocative thought from the source material. How and who are you choosing to be in time? Are you treating your commitments as just, optional suggestions? Or are you recognizing your crucial place in this massive, interconnected web of shared reality? Next time you check the clock, just remember, it's not about managing minutes. It's about the integrity of your word. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I really hope this gives you something powerful to chew on today.